Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Am I the a-hole for accidentally feeding my Muslim friend a pork product? Post by Throwaway. So, I have a work friend, let's call him Ryan, who is a Muslim. I had him over for dinner one night and we're having burgers and fries. I'm from the US, South, and cook everything in bacon grease, cause I'm unhealthy, and the burgers were a hit with everyone there. Ryan especially loved them, and ate like 4 burgers. They were slider size. After we were done eating, he asked how I made them, and I gave him detailed instructions. He immediately blew up because he can't eat anything pork related because of his religion. I'm not religious at all and had no idea this was the case. I felt awful and tried to apologize, but he wouldn't accept my apology and acted like I was trying to poison him. If I had known he had dietary restrictions, I wouldn't have used any pork products at all, and I feel like I should have asked. The next day at work, I got called into HR, and they tell me that I have to switch teams. We work in a call center where every supervisor has a team of 10 to 15 people, because Ryan had submitted a complaint that I'm Islamophobic, and if I cause any further issues, I'll be terminated. I tried explaining that it was a mistake and I felt awful, but the HR department basically just shrugged their shoulders and told me if someone has a complaint filed against them for any reason, that person needs to switch teams. This sucks because I had a great relationship with my team and supervisor, and we're the highest performing team at my job. But they put me on the lowest performing team, and the way the team performs affects your monthly bonus. So now I'm making $300 less per paycheck, and there's nothing I can do about it. So Reddit, am I the a-hole here for not asking about my friend's dietary restrictions? Personally, knowing that Muslim people don't eat pork products, I wouldn't have cooked using bacon grease. But in saying that, she didn't know, and I kinda gotta give her the benefit of the doubt there. I feel like it's the responsibility of the person with the dietary requirement to let people know who are going to be cooking for them that they can't eat certain things, like with allergies. You can't just assume people will know. And calling someone Islamophobic to their HR at work is really dancing along the line of slander, especially since it cost her money. $300 less per paycheck is a lot. Honestly, I think OP should speak to a lawyer about what her rights are. Update. Ryan was smoking weed and drinking booze with us the entire night. He even brought his own bottle of Kraken. So even if I was aware that my food wasn't halal, I feel it would be reasonable for me to assume he didn't care. This is the first Muslim person I've ever met in my entire life, and he was new to town, so I wanted him to feel welcome. My own verdict is that I definitely should have done some research and asked him about his dietary restrictions, and I'll do that with everyone in the future. Oh, hell no. This update makes me think OP should 100% sue him for slander. And make sure to include all the many ways he broke the halal rules himself in front of you that night. I'm sure his family and friends will be totally understanding of that. Am I the a-hole for letting you know I'm divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website you used to ignore me? Post by Hotline 8325. Hi Steven, maybe you'll finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything into the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you're gonna act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down to you in a language you'll understand. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about herself from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering, right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. And oh, it didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me, literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10, they were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but he can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional, as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence over our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in. A place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi! He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I need to know about where I stand in his life. So, I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So Stephen, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Down in the comments, Strange Loop says, imagine bro sitting down and reading this, at first like, wow, imagine if this was actually for me. Wait, oh, that might be me because, oh my god, the necklace thing? The ultrasound? Mom! Update. So she starts off by saying that a bunch of trolls, possibly her ex and his friends, have been making a bunch of fake posts about how she supposedly cheated on him with an ex, had a ton of affairs, was a deadbeat mooching off him, etc. Basically, just trying to smear her. She confirmed that none of this was true. She's never cheated, and isn't even friends with her neighbours, and actually earns more than him. She goes on to say, I'm safe and staying with family. I'm working with my lawyer to ensure our safety, and that's all I can disclose at this time. As for recent developments, there hasn't been much new. Stephen is clearly desperate. He and my mother-in-law have both had meltdowns and launched separate smear campaigns. My mother-in-law has spread false claims, including that I'm an unfit mother and that I've been abandoning my responsibilities. I don't plan on answering these claims publicly. I'm collecting all the evidence I have, especially since she has nothing to back up her accusations, but I have everything to back up mine. So, no, Stephen, this isn't going to be a he said, she said situation. When I tried to talk to Stephen, he always made me feel like I was going crazy. Whenever I raised concerns or expressed feelings, he would dismiss them, belittle my emotions, and make me second guess myself. For instance, I'd come home to find that he'd invited people over without informing me in advance. When I brought it up, he'd insist that he'd mentioned it earlier, even though I knew he hadn't. Another time, I'd planned a special meal and asked him for a specific dish, but he claimed I requested something completely different. When I reminded him of what I actually asked for, he'd argued that I must have forgotten my own request. Stephen would also insist that he'd completed tasks that I had actually done myself. For example, he would claim he handled a household chore when I was the one who actually took care of it. And when I pointed this out, he'd dismiss my recollection and insist that he had done it. Even in conversations about our relationship, Stephen would frequently deny things he'd said or done. If I brought up issues I had with his mother's behaviour, he'd claim, "You've never mentioned this before. You're just being overdramatic." This made me question whether I'd ever truly discussed these problems, or if I was indeed overreacting. At one point, I was so convinced that I had early onset dementia or schizophrenia that I started to question my own sanity. I felt lost and confused, struggling to distinguish between reality and his version of events. I began to document our interactions, just to keep track of what was actually happening. But Stephen would always find a way to twist things, saying, "You must be misremembering," even though I had clear evidence to the contrary. Feeling so powerless, I realized that sharing my story online was the only way to present my truth in a manner he couldn't manipulate. I wanted to ensure that there was a clear, unchangeable record of what actually happened. Posting about my experiences was a crucial step in reclaiming my voice and finding support from others who might understand my situation. It was a way to take control of my narrative after feeling so lost and doubting myself for so long. Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. Down in the comments, Fly Flirty and 50 says, "Dear OP, you've just given the classic definition of gaslighting. When someone dismisses your feelings, tells you you're being dramatic, and tries to twist the facts to make you question what you know to be true by saying it never happened, or that you're misremembering things. You are well and truly rid of him. Congratulations again. Stay strong for you and your baby girl. It will be difficult for a while as you ride out the smear campaigns, but it will die down eventually. If you have to, ask your lawyer to draft a cease and desist, or go to the police for a harassment report. You need as much of a paper trail as you can get. His BS is out in the open now, and he is exposed for the mama's boy he is. He can't alter the facts moving forward, and you're definitely doing the right thing. Just remember that. If you liked this video, please let me know, and subscribe for more juicy tea.